Studios. This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story, the Lieutenant Governor says Utahns love to vote by mail. In-person voting started last week, but Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson says the ballots collected thus far, the vast majority are voting by mail. She told KSL at night it's a great way for parents to teach their families about civic engagement as they fill out their ballots at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And they're talking through this with their kids, and their kids are watching them participate in the most fundamental democratic process that we as good citizens need to engage in.
Utah allows the mailed ballots to be tabulated, but those results won't be revealed until the polls close next Tuesday night. Independent parties have a better shot here in Utah than other states because of one of the candidates that ran in 2022. Independent Evan McMullin fared pretty well when he went up against Senator Mike Lee. According to Utah News Dispatch, McMullin got 45% of the vote. 13 independent candidates are running for office in Utah this election. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, sky-high interest rates have not kept consumers from opening up their wallets.
Adjusted for inflation, the GDP in the third quarter expanded 2.8%, slightly below the 3% gain in the previous quarter. With rising wages and an unemployment rate hovering around 4%, economists say consumer spending continues to drive the numbers.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 144. Right now, we're at 42,374. Coming up, we'll be cool today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. What's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Americans treasure owning silver bars and coins, putting them away for themselves and their loved ones. Call now to secure 1-ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. You'll be glad you did. Hurry, don't miss out on this special deal. Save $10 per silver bar. The more you buy, the more you save. Limit of 25 bars per customer. Call to learn more. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value and free shipping. Call 1-800-222-3967 now to secure your 1-ounce Morgan Silver Dollar bars. That's 1-800-222-3967.
Okay, it's confession time. Conference weekend cinnamon rolls and my birthday week got me out of some of the good habits I created with my friends at Soda Weight Loss, and I gained back a few of the 70 pounds I let go of earlier this year. But this is where Soda's true value really kicks in.
It was just a quick call to my nutritionist, Kristen.
We've got a plan back in place. I'll have this off within a couple of weeks and be right back to where I wanted to be again. Because with soda, there's no drugs, no pills, no injections. And when you stop taking those quick solutions medications, most people discover the weight just comes right back. Soda has real science, real results, and a proven method to melt that visceral fat and to keep it off for good. It's simple. Just go to sotaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. And while you're there, click the button, request a nutritionist callback, and within minutes, you'll be on the phone with somebody who's ready to help you change your life for the better. Because soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Andy Farnsworth.
Still looking mostly good through the valley. The only slow spots we've got point at the mountain to Bangor Highway. And then we still have some reduced speeds between about 39th and 33rd South. Mountain View still got some backups in West Valley. And down in Daybreak looks much better south from Davis County, though, and Weber County. If you're on Legacy, though, you'll be in a little bit of slowing in West Bountiful because of lane restrictions. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
Right now, let's get a look at the KSL weather forecast. Today will be partly sunny, but still chilly. The high temperature will only be around 48 degrees. Right now, it's 39 downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I think we just got word that the Utah County Clerk is going to be joining the show because there's seems to be a new angle to what has been brewing in the Utah County area regarding ballot returns and how people return their ballots that is now bubbled up thanks to our colleague Lisa Riley-Roche at the Deseret News. And the headline is this: Utah County Clerk says he's tracked how politicians cast ballots. And in particular, he spoke about one state senator that has taken him to task over this controversy of whether to stamp your ballot or not stamp your ballot when you drop it in the U.S. mail. We're going to go in depth on all of this because it seems to be, like I say, resurfacing again today as he's come out and told the D News Dave that he is tracking specifically how politicians in Utah County are casting their ballots.
Not how they're voting, but how they're dropping their ballot off.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
A man shot to death in Utah. Now police revealing evidence that a small tracking device, Dave, it was an AirTag, according to police, was uncovered inside the car he was driving. Cops allege that his vehicle was being tracked in the weeks leading up to his death. And they allege there's a conspiracy to kill him. In the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to go in-depth on the murder investigation, and we're also going to speak to a tech expert. Is there any way to know if a small tracking device has been hidden inside your own car?
There is an application that you load on a mobile device on a phone, and with your phone, you're able to see the location of where that tag is, that tracking device. You can generally see it, anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world.
I've got a half a dozen of these small tracking devices, the AirTags, in my home right now. I'm tracking my son right now that is flying to Georgia, and I'm tracking him because I put a little AirTag in his luggage. I was shocked to hear this angle of the story, that allegedly this is how this individual that was shot to death was being tracked.
Countdown. 2.
Hold the red meat. This one is for Dave and all of your buddies out there, Dave, who love themselves a good, juicy hamburger for lunch. Well, nutrition guidelines could be changing that would recommend y'all eat less red meat.
Beef. It's what's for dinner.
Not anymore.
I love beef. I love it. Love beef. And when you say you and your buddies, Debbie, that is not just you calling out me and my buddy. Literally, men consume twice the red meat that women do. And now it looks like the government is going to change their guidelines and say, boys, you got to cut back on the red meat.
Launch countdown 1.
What do we think about this? Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson telling the Deseret News he's tracking how politicians return their ballots. In fact, Davidson told the Deseret News he knows that specifically Utah State Senator Mike McKell sent his ballot in without a stamp. Oh no! Then I want to ask the Utah County Clerk, Caitlin, give me a thumbs up. Is he confirmed? Is he confirmed? We believe he's confirmed to call the show in about maybe 45 minutes. I want to ask him, Dave, why he's keeping track of how politicians return their ballots. Is that the only group that he's keeping track of? And also, is that all he's looking at when those ballots come in? And in fact, State Senator Mike McKell joining the show at 9:20 with his reaction to what the clerk told our colleague at the Deseret News about tracking how political figures are returning their ballots, whether by ballot box or by mail, with a stamp, without a stamp. I mean, what is going on?
And I want to know why Senator Mike McKell wouldn't cough up the 73 cents to put that stamp on his ballot. What's that 73 cents to you? Throw a stamp on there. Okay, but the bigger question really is, do we want our county clerks tracking this? To me, I could not care less. If someone shouted from the rooftops, Dave put his ballot in a drop box, or he took it inside the county clerk, whatever. I could not care less if people know that I dropped my ballot off somewhere. Now, if we're talking about revealing how I voted, that's a totally different thing. But that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about where you drop your ballot off. So why does anyone care?
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
But I think we do have to get to the why. What is the end game here for the county clerk in Utah County to collect this information? And if he's only collecting it on politicians, why only politicians?
Politicians routinely will vote and invite news cameras. I've been that photographer with a camera on my shoulder as we walk in and a politician proudly casts their vote, right? So this is no different. We vote a little bit different, dropping off the ballot. It's a mail-in ballot, but it's essentially the same. Should this register? Should this bother anybody? Just because it doesn't bother me doesn't mean it doesn't bother somebody else. I just want to know
about you.
Why does it bother you?
We're not talking about you. We're talking about, if you found out that the county clerk was tracking how all members of the media dropped off their ballot and whether you used a stamp or not. If it was specifically members of other groups were being tracked, maybe you would have a different reaction to this. We're going to get the reaction from State Senator Mike McKell, whose name was mentioned in the article by the Deseret News, because Aaron Davidson, the county clerk, mentioned to the Deseret News that he knows how Mike McKell, the state senator, is going to call the show in just a few minutes, didn't use a stamp. That he didn't use a stamp. Now, I want to just take you back just for a moment because I think we need to refresh how this all began, how this all started to bubble up earlier this year. And in fact, it unfolded right here on the Dave and Dujanovic show when Aaron Davidson, the county clerk in Utah County, talked to us long before today when it began earlier this year when he started urging voters who use the United States mail to return their ballots to please put a stamp on it so his office doesn't need to cover the cost of the postage.
But I think the average voter has enough dignity to, want to pay for that convenience of 68 cents or go find a drop box. We've got it posted on our website. So someone has to pay the postage. And if someone doesn't put a stamp on, that makes other taxpayers pay that postage for them.
Sorry, I said 73 cents. Apparently it's 68 cents.
Maybe it's gone up.
Maybe it's gone up. I don't know. I haven't used a stamp in so long. But nevertheless, anytime a politician or somebody elected wants to save me money, that sounds like a good idea. But to be very clear, you don't have to put a stamp on for this thing to be mailed.
Well, it just seemed to me at the time that the county clerk there was urging people to drop their ballots off at a ballot box instead of using, the local blue mailbox or walking it into a post office. Okay, but there's a lot of people where it's just a lot more convenient to drop it off in a mail. And we have been doing it this way for the better part of more than a decade. So it started to get quite a bit confusing as to whether you needed a stamp, you didn't need a stamp. And State Senator Mike McKell at the time came out and said, you don't need a stamp, to what your point was just moments ago. So this started to get really confusing. And now we've learned that the county clerk is keeping track of how politicians are returning their ballots and telling the Deseret News that Mike McKell didn't use a stamp in the last election. And then he says, I don't know how he returned it this election. He says, and of course the Deseret News, Lisa Riley Roche asks, how do you know that? Because I track. Every ballot envelope is tracked. I mean, the tracking mechanism tracks who returns their ballot. I don't publicize it for everybody, but I think politicians that are out there advocating to make Utah County pay for your ballot return, those politicians need to be called out and said how they return their own ballot.
And there's 3 ways that you can drop off your ballot. You can either drop it off at a drop box, you can mail it in, or you can take it, inside a polling center and you can drop it off inside. There's several ways. Every single one is legal. Every one has been approved, and it's just fine. It's largely just personal preference. I wonder why this is becoming such a big thing. But to be very clear, they are not tracking the way people are voting. He's tracking the way people are dropping off their ballot.
Well, let's get State Senator Mike McKell's reaction to this straight ahead. He's calling the show.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few knew about her superpowers. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
What's much less frightening than...
We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. It's coming from inside the house.
Why, KSL's election analysis, of course. This week, get full coverage of Your Voice, Your Vote 2024. And happy Halloween from KSL News Radio.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Solutions.
It's time to fall in love and find great savings as we prepare for the holidays at IFA Country Stores. Our annual early bird sale is 3 unique sales over the next 4 weeks. Prep for winter as you protect and layer up with our vast selection of outerwear and supplies. Care for the things you love with specials throughout the store on farm and home needs. And Christmas comes early with gifts for the whole family this November. Visit us in store for early bird savings or shop for the things you love at ifa.coop.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, police have arrested the wife and the mother-in-law of a man shot and killed at a home in American Fork, claiming they conspired with another family member to kill him. Second, a traffic stop in Summit County led to the seizure of 83 pounds of marijuana and other illegal drugs. The driver is facing multiple charges for attempted drug trafficking. And third, U.S. economy grew at a solid 2.8% pace last quarter on the strength of consumer spending despite higher interest rates. Right now, it's 39 degrees in Salt Lake City. To David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
This really began as I just thought it was a squabble over stamps, to stamp or not to stamp your ballot in Utah County. I thought we cleared it all up earlier this year. You do not have to put a stamp if you return your ballot through the U.S. mail on your ballot. You don't have to put the sticky stuff there. You just put it in the mail. Thank you for voting. Make your own I voted sticker and be on your way. But now we've got this controversy bubbling up again in Utah County. The Desert News reporting that the Utah County clerk saying he's tracking how politicians cast their ballots. So he particularly points to State Senator Mike McKell and says that he knows, at least in the last election, he didn't put a stamp on his return ballot last election. He's like, I'm not sure what he did this election. Well, we're going to ask him in just a moment because we got inquiring minds needing to know. But more importantly, how does it feel that a county clerk is tracking and then talking to the press about how politicians are casting their ballots?
It does. It feels and sounds, my gut reaction is it feels like a message is trying to be sent. Like whether it's being political, but it's odd that you would treat one ballot differently than another, that one voter would get extra scrutiny over another. Now, Aaron Davidson, the county clerk down in Utah County, says, well, he's a politician, a little bit different politicians. There's an added layer of scrutiny that he thinks that they deserve. And he's going to join us later on in the show, and he can really walk us through his reasoning behind this. But I will tell you just personally, if someone announced it to the world, and I think I've probably announced it to the world, I drop it off in the drop box. That's how I don't care if anyone knows that because they're not reading my ballot. They're just saying this is how you drop it off.
State Senator Mike McKell, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thanks for joining us once again. I thought this was settled, but now it's back.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What's your reaction to the Utah County clerk saying he's tracking how politicians cast their ballots?
First of all, thank you for having me on. I learned this yesterday from Lisa Riley Roach. She called to the day before she called to do an interview about methods of voting, and the conversation turned to Aaron Davidson. And when I heard that, I stopped and I said, Lisa, can you say that again? And she says, yes, Aaron Davidson told me that he is tracking your individual ballot and he was able to isolate your individual ballot. To me, I had a pit in my stomach. It's inappropriate. It's bizarre. And it really caught me off guard. To be really truthful, it caught me off guard. I was shocked that Aaron Davidson would do that. The Constitution guarantees the right to a secret ballot. and I understand I'm an elected official, and I'm always going to be held to a higher standard. But my right to a secret ballot is the same as everybody else's. And the fact that Aaron Davidson wants to isolate and track my individual ballot is extremely inappropriate in my view.
So, from my understanding, he's not looking at your ballot or the way that you voted. It's just where you dropped it off or how you delivered the ballot,
right.
Correct?
I don't know that. If he can isolate my ballot and look at my individual ballot, I'm not confident that he's not also looking at how I voted. I think he's claiming that he didn't look at how I actually voted, but I certainly don't have confidence to say that I don't believe Aaron Davidson's looking at my individual vote. If he can track down my individual ballot, what's stopping him from looking at my actual votes? And if he can do it to me, he can also do it to others. He talked about a list to Lisa Riley Roach and the fact that he is tracking how all the elected officials in Utah County are voting. I had a colleague reach out to me after the story broke, and the colleague said, "Oh my gosh, he did the same thing to me. He reached out to me at a political event and said, I noticed that you voted by mail. Why didn't you use the drop box?" And I know that legislator was bothered enough that legislator then reached out to legislative counsel to talk about that in my view, violation of privacy. So it's not just me. It's not just a beef with Senator McKell. He is tracking all of the elected officials in Utah County.
Look, you're a seated senator. Is there any discussion behind the scenes on Capitol Hill to take steps to either look into this further or to get some legislation in line that would prevent this from happening? But you said the Constitution protects ballots. So, I mean, what is the next step?
So for me, my colleague that this happened to before it happened to me, and I didn't learn about it until after, that colleague is actually working on a bill file right now. But I will say there are a lot of protections in place. I have asked the Utah County Attorney's Office to screen this case for possible criminal implications. I'm very concerned. I had a chance to review the process that Aaron Davidson went through to isolate my ballot. It is a very intensive process where he used a lot of time and resources to do it. This isn't an easy process to find and locate my individual ballot. It is a lengthy process. It takes resources to do it. And the reality is we have an election to conduct right now, and I've got a county clerk that wants to look at individual ballots from elected officials instead of doing his job. I think it's a concern. It's too early to say where it'll go, but I have asked the Utah County Attorney's Office to screen it for possible criminal implications, and I think there are some legitimate concerns.
Davidson told the Deseret News that you didn't put a stamp on your ballot. Was that a specific message you were trying to send, or was it just, I'm going to keep that 73 cents to myself?
So for me, I didn't put a stamp on my ballot because I wanted to track my ballot and make sure it went through the process correctly. One of the things that Lieutenant Governor Henderson has been doing right now, if you look on her social media feeds, there is a link, and I wish I had it off the top of my head. There's a link where you can track your ballot. So what I did is I started tracking my ballot. I downloaded my information through the link so I could see that my vote was counted. I think it's wise for all voters to do that. So I didn't put a stamp on my ballot with the intention of tracking my ballot, making sure that ballot was counted. And I can tell you my primary ballot was counted without a stamp. I do think for your listeners, you guys would both have to find the link, but I think it's helpful for your listeners to know there is a link. There is a way to track your ballot.
Yeah, we've got it here, Senator.
In fact, it's just vote.utah.gov, and at the very top there's a red bar that just says sign up to track your ballot, and that'll walk you through. So it's just vote.utah.gov to track your ballot.
Sounds like you were trying to track it to see if the process worked without a stamp because of the controversy that had bubbled up earlier this year about to stamp or not to stamp.
Yeah, exactly. But let me tell you another part that's really troubling to me. In the interview with Lisa Riley Roach, one of the things that my election clerk said is he wanted to keep a list so he could call out elected officials. And to me, that's clear voter intimidation. I used a legal method to vote. There's been a lot of polling lately. The public, almost 80% of the public supports mail-in balloting. That's a legal method to vote. That's a method that I used. and I've got a county clerk who is supposed to be neutral, who's supposed to run a neutral election. He's targeting elected officials so he can call us out and try to intimidate us. And obviously I'm not going to be intimidated by an Aaron Davidson, but the fact that he's playing politics time and time again with the method of voting, to me, is really troubling. I'll leave with this. I know your time is limited. Utah County in the primary had the lowest voter turnout in the state of Utah. 29 counties, we were 29th. And, some of the efforts of Aaron Davidson are clearly working. If his intention is to put up limitations, make it more difficult to vote, to scare off voters, he is being successful in that. And I think the data is clear. Again, Utah County is a very highly educated county, typically has high voter turnout. In the primary election, we were dead last.
Senator Mike McKell, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Saying that he has asked the Utah County Attorney's Office to look into this matter regarding what the county clerk has reported to the Deseret News, and reporter Lisa Riley Roche, who broke this story. You can check it out at deseretnews.com or ksl.com as well. But I have been told, Caitlin, please give me a thumbs up. 10:05, Aaron Davidson, Utah County Clerk. Thanks, Caitlin. Calling the show, and we will ask him these questions. And we will also ask him the question, is it only how the ballot was mailed that he is looking at and tracking? Because State Senator Mike McKell says he doesn't know for sure if his actual ballot was or wasn't viewed.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour: police have arrested 2 family members of a man shot and killed in American Fork, claiming they lured him from California to have him killed. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Investigators say Matthew Rastelli and his wife Catherine, who were living in California, were having marriage problems, so she decided to stay at her mom's house in American Fork. But investigators say she and her mom, Tracy Grist, came up with an excuse to get Matthew to drive from California to Utah. Thinking he was coming to talk things out with his wife, Matthew was shot 1 minute after showing up to the home, police say, by his brother-in-law.
The 2 women have been booked on suspicion of conspiracy and other potential charges. The alleged shooter was arrested on suspicion of murder. The case against a Logan mother accused of starving her infant son to death has been dropped. Psychologists say Jody Lee Anderson is not competent to stand trial and is unable to understand the charges against her. She was previously charged with aggravated murder and obstructing justice. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: Spanish authorities say at least 64 people have died after flash floods swept away cars, turned village streets into rivers, and disrupted rail lines and highways. Police and rescue services used helicopters to lift people from their homes and cars. The storms are forecast to continue through Thursday. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 155 right now. We're at 42,389. Coming up, it's going to be cold today, but the rain should be gone for most of us. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
I have so much fun talking to people that have been on Salt Lake City fat loss with me. I joined the program back in February, lost 57 pounds in 60 days. And I just love when people come up to me. They love to share their stories. Jake came up. He's like, I'm almost at 30 pounds. I feel amazing. And I had another friend tell me, I'm down 35 pounds. The results have been incredible, and I've experienced it. Salt Lake City Fat Loss can help you lose weight without surgery, without injections, no insane workout routine, and I think it's sustainable. I found it to be sustainable. I've changed some very bad eating habits, and I've improved a great deal. So if you're interested in losing some weight, Salt Lake City Fat Loss has worked great for me. Go ahead and reach out to them. Schedule a free consultation at slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8th. 2025 if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at www.robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodity interests can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Displayed prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. Learn more at www.robinhood.com/election.
Don't you deserve healthcare you can count on? Well, you can count on United Healthcare with Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. You can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Utah, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Construction is the biggest thing slowing people down right now on several roadways. One of those is Bangerter Highway. You're going to have stop-and-go traffic as you head east through Riverton into Bluffdale, and that is between 36 West and 2700 West. You have lane restrictions in the area. Also, Legacy Parkway northbound through Woods Cross and Bountiful, you're down to one right lane, and that slows people down from time to time. Plus, looks like we had a crash in the area in that road construction zone, but they pulled themselves over behind the barrels now. Use Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and plumbing needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be partly sunny, but still chilly. Highs in the mid-40s. Right now it's 39 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Hold the red meat. The nutritional guidelines could be changing. Would recommend Americans eat less red meat.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I feel a little whiplash when it comes to nutrition and the U.S. government. You see doctors all over the internet contradicting one another. You know, one doctor loves the vegan diet.
I mean, it seems that our bodies were designed for all of this fresh fruit, vegetables, whole grain produce. It's perfectly designed for our bodies.
Another doctor, all about the beef, going full carnivore.
There are hundreds of thousands of people eating a carnivore diet or a ketovore diet or a diet that's full of fatty red meat, and they're actually losing weight.
So talking about the whiplash that I feel, I was in school with the old food pyramid telling us to eat 11 servings of bread, rice, and pasta. And just 3 servings of meat, fish, and egg. I mean, okay, so I broke down the 11 servings of bread, rice, and pasta. That's 6 slices of bread, 2 cups of pasta, 2 cups of rice, and 1 cup of oatmeal. That's your 11 servings. Can you imagine eating 2 cups of pasta, 2 cups of rice, and 1 cup of oatmeal in addition to 6 pieces of bread?
I remember the days when they strongly urged us to eat bagels and pasta. I love myself a good bagel. How much of this is coming from advertising?
Chances are their favorite dinners have at least one thing in common. Beef. It's what's for dinner.
Or how about milk?
Milk. It does a body good.
Lois Collins joins us right now, and you wrote this. How much red meat is too much? In the Deseret News, guidelines may be changing. Okay, so how often do guidelines change? Because I'm going back to the 1980s and the food pyramid. How often do these change?
They're at least reviewed every 5 years. So every 5 years they get an update, but some updates are more significant than others.
So give us the meat. Give us the meat on red meat. What do they say? And who's doing these guidelines?
So this is every time there's a guideline, they put together a panel of experts. It's called the Dietary Guideline Advisory Committee.
Okay.
It's 20 experts from around the country. They sit down, they talk about things, they look at the evidence, and then they make their recommendations. And what they're really recommending is not so much an attack on red meat, I think, as it is a push to get people to eat more beans, lentils, peas, plant-based protein. And so, but they don't want you to eat tons of everything. It's not like eat 6 cups of this in addition to 4 cups of that, like you were talking about, Dave. So they're saying that we're eating too much red meat, but this is a draft. It will go through this whole process. It will be given to Health and Human Services, the Department of Agriculture. They'll look at it. They'll have a 60-day comment period. And judging from comments on the story, by the way, they're going to get lots of comments. They will have this comment period. Then they will decide what they want to do. And no recommendation, regardless of what they do or don't do, will be final until the end of 2025.
And so many of the recent diets, the diet fads, trends, whatever you want to call them, have become very meat-centric, very heavy protein. You know, whether it's the keto diet or carnivore diet, there's a lot of meat that's involved in this. Is this narrow it down specifically to beef? Is it leaving alone pork and chicken?
It is red meat that they are saying, and there have been quite a few studies actually that have cast some doubt about the health of eating excessive amounts of red meat. So you have to be clear that you get potassium, you get iron, you get choline, you get other minerals from red meat, and it's important. And how you cook it is also important, and what you do with the fat is also important. So there are so many layers to this, but they are focusing specifically on red meat as something that we should cut back. And some of the studies have said, you know, it could, if you eat too much red meat, if you're not careful how you cook it, etc., what you do with the fat, whether you salt it like crazy, you have a higher risk of stroke or heart attack. Some studies have said you have a greater risk of colorectal cancer, higher risk of diabetes, and other studies have contradicted it and said the evidence is slim on that. So it's what you're talking about. It's, you know, there's kind of this back and forth. There are areas of agreement in food. Everybody knows that ultra-processed food to excess is not good for you. I think any argument about that, the ship has sailed. But there are all sorts of disagreements about whether or not we should be totally plant-based or red meat, chicken, whatever.
Can we put this in Dave Noriega terms? He's sitting at a drive-thru, Lois, and the new guidelines have just dropped, and he's read them every night before bed, so he memorizes exactly how much red meat he shouldn't be eating. But now he's sitting at that drive-thru and he's tempted because they offer a, triple stack cheeseburger or just a regular old single cheeseburger. Looks kind of boring to him because he's had a long work day. He's really cut back on how much he eats altogether. I can tell you that because he's been on that amazing diet. However, we're often forced with that. I am that decision. I'm sitting at the drive-thru and I'm like, I really want a double cheeseburger today, but I really should go for the kids' meal cheeseburger, right? Boring. Tell me what that guideline, that new guideline, would urge him to do.
So it talks about balancing things. So if you decide that you really want that double cheeseburger, get the double cheeseburger. Don't do it every day. Don't do it every meal. Don't do it all the time.
So don't have that cheeseburger and then a steak that night.
Exactly. So you're going to balance what you're doing. And, they have said in the guidelines, people don't understand either how small the servings are of things. Mm-hmm. It's a deck of cards size piece of meat. I don't eat a whole lot, but I need more than a deck of cards.
I've heard it like meat. I've also had a computer mouse is about the size.
Yeah, it's.
I look at a computer mouse. Like I'm looking at one right now. Let me hold it up for our cameras.
If I ate a steak that size, Debbie, I would revolt.
You would need to eat 5 of these. I would too.
More of that. You would need more than that. But really, what it's saying, and it's a guideline too. Yeah. It's not a rule, but it's saying use some common sense. And I guess we just have to wait until the end of this year to see whether they formalize that draft, and then we have to wait to see what happens after the comment period. And it's worth noting that they don't always follow the recommendations. They did not follow recommendations on reducing alcohol intake or on reducing sugar intake.
One of the complaints I've seen on these observational studies is they're not taking into account, Debbie, you described it so well. When we go through the fast food, we're looking at a double cheeseburger, and we're conflating the double cheeseburger that has the burger, the cheese, everything fried. You got the French fries, you got the sugary bun, and they're saying, well, that's unhealthy. Well, that's not what red meat is. Red meat is one thing. It's just the burger. But then you pile on a stack of fries or onion rings.
Well, you get your 6 servings of breads and pasta.
There you go. Following the food pyramid. But that's been one of the complaints. And as you said, it's kind of the struggle as you're trying to look into the science and why there's so much contradiction is how are we measuring it? Are we isolating just the meat? Or are we saying when we eat meat, it's usually coupled with some onion rings, which we know, is not great for you. And I think that's part of where you see doctors that are coming to different conclusions.
I also really think that you should pay attention to how you feel.
That's a great point, Lois.
That has a lot to do with it. If you're eating hamburgers and big gulps and whatever every day and you feel sluggish, maybe you want to make some changes. But most of us know, I think, how to fuel ourselves so that we feel our best. And so you take your knowledge, you pay attention to guidelines and stuff, you recognize their guidelines, you do things in moderation, and you do the best you can, and most of us will be fine.
Lois, thank you so much for joining us, Lois Collins.
You can read her full story at Deseret.com and drop her a comment, too. She's already said, like, the
lots of comments
section,
right now.
There's a line for comments, like the line at the drive-thru to get a hamburger. Lois, you're the best. Thanks so much for dropping in today.
Always a pleasure.
To walk through this new proposal or this new consideration for red meat guidelines. Would you give up red meat?
No chance. Now, men consume twice the red meat as women do. So is this just a me thing? So we want to hear from you guys. Lois said, we have 80 comments already on the story at the Deseret News. Well, we want to get your comments right now.
Yeah. Would you give up a hamburger? Would you give up a steak if the government told you it's just no good for you? Look, I've already leaned into the guidelines, Dave. I don't eat hamburgers and steaks. Well, maybe once in a while, but not as often as you do. So Dave is pro red meat. I like chicken and turkey. Is that a bad thing? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Are you on Team Dave? Are you a red meat fan? Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule it. 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from the station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
My name is Brian King, and I'm running to be your governor because Utah is headed in the wrong direction, and we can do so much better. If you're frustrated by politics today, if you feel like politicians aren't listening to you, if you're looking for something different, for a leader who prioritizes common sense and bipartisanship, you have a place with us in this campaign. Join us and vote for Brian King for governor by November 5th. For the better.
Paid for by Brian for Utah.
Rescue, redemption, recovery, re-entry. That's what happens at the rescue mission of Salt Lake City.
My name's India.
My name is Kelly.
So I was a heroin addict.
I was living in my car.
Then I decided it was time that I got help.
You don't know what to expect.
The rescue mission of Salt Lake does not accept any federal, state, or city funding. Everything is wholly supported through your generous tax-deductible contributions, along with donations of our friends and supporters.
You have a bed. You have a shower. We get everything that we need.
87% of every dollar goes to the rescue mission services. The other 13%, hard costs to run the mission building itself.
Like I have that hope now.
Thank goodness.
From the recovery program to a place to lay your head at night, and meals served every morning, afternoon, and evening all year long, as well as food boxes for families in need. The rescue mission needs our help.
Like a new life, that newfound hope.
That's what I'm grateful for.
Find out how at rescuesaltlake.org.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, most of the ballots and votes collected in Utah are mail-in. The lieutenant governor says it's the most popular way people vote in the Beehive State. Second, at least 64 people have died after flash floods in Spain. The water swept away cars, turned village streets into rivers, and disrupted rail lines and highways. Third, New York has decriminalized jaywalking. Officers can no longer cite pedestrians for not using a crosswalk. Right now, let's see what our current temperature is downtown. We're at 39 degrees. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
When it comes to red meat, I love myself a really delicious, of course, onions on top, turkey burger. I love myself a turkey burger. We're talking about new red meat guidelines, just in draft form right now. Lois Collins of the Deseret News just leaving studio. She wrote a story for the Deseret News, and you can find it there. Lots of comments on that already. These guidelines are being discussed by a dietary guidelines advisory committee, where they're going to say cut down on the red meat. Dave.
Yeah, they're talking more about the benefits of a plant-based diet in this draft. And I'm not a nutritionist, right? I mean, I've struggled with nutrition my entire life. I remember growing up, and the food pyramid was talking all about the benefits of cereal, rice, bread, and pasta. And you say that to people now of, hey, you know what you should do is have 2 cups of pasta, 2 cups of rice, a cup of oatmeal, and 6 slices of bread, which is the old food pyramid base. You sound crazy.
We're going to take your live calls, 801-575-TALK. I'm not crazy.
4 cups of pasta, totally fine.
Add some bagels to that. That's how things were. And we followed the guidelines mostly. I don't eat bread anymore. I rarely eat pasta. I never eat red meat. But Lois pointed out there are some benefits to it. You get iron through red meat. And iron can be a tough source of, mineral to come by in other foods. I mean, you can eat lots of spinach maybe, but I know red meat is a source of iron. I don't like it. I don't like the taste the way I used to. Used to eat lots of hamburgers. I've given them up for turkey burgers. We're going to take your live calls in just a moment. Are you willing to pass up on the hamburger in favor of a turkey burger like me? Dave's like, there's a whole Parks and Rec episode on this.
I love this.
Where Ron Swanson takes a turkey burger
I humbly place before you my East Meets West patented Traeger turkey burger, an Asian fusion burger made with Willow Farms organic turkey. Enjoy.
This tastes as delicious as Beyonce smells. I'm guessing.
Here's mine. It's a hamburger made out of meat on a bun with nothing. Add ketchup if you want. I couldn't care less.
Ron, I'm so disappointed. I thought that you and I were going to have a real challenge.
Never mind, this is better. Way better.
Kyle?
Sorry, Andy. Ron's is better.
Oh my God, it's so much better. It's crazy.
You can't replace beef.
Turkey can never beat cow, Chris. Sorry.
The commissary will continue to serve horrifying, artery-clogging hamburgers.
And some of this is we just don't care, right? We love what we love. We know Oreos aren't good for you. You know soda's not good for you, but we do it anyway. Let's take your phone calls. Kate in North Ogden, where do you land?
Okay, I have good news for you.
Okay.
First, you've done a fabulous job so far. I love this whole. You, Lois, Deb, everybody. I am a nutritionist. I have been since certified to teach nutrition since 1971. So I have taught all of this. I have worked at it all of these years. So that's where I'm coming from. But what I think you would like, to me, the only thing you haven't covered is that what matters, I think, is if the red meat is organic, if it's grass-fed, if you shot the game yourself, if you raise the beef yourself, or if you know...
Kate, you want me to go out and shoot a cow?
No, what I'm saying is I'm giving options for everybody.
I see. Okay.
I don't shoot a cow myself.
But you're saying some people, you know where you can get, or I think it's grass-fed beef. I get it there a lot when I do want a hamburger, is Sprouts. And I'm sure like Whole Foods and other markets, maybe Harmon's has it. And I will tell you, I do like the taste of grass-fed beef. Thanks for your suggestions, Kate. I will not be going out and getting my hunting license at all. But maybe other people take up this and consider that.
But to her point, you know, knowing where it comes from, how it's prepared.
Is fresher.
Yeah. I think that's it's interesting, right? Thank you so much for the phone call, Kate. Philip in South Jordan, where do you land?
Yeah, hi. So the lady said that she likes turkey burgers. I am, in fact, allergic to birds, so I am red meat all the way.
Oh, you are?
I've never heard that allergy. Allergic to birds, huh?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do you have to, if they land in your yard, do you have to stay clear of birds? I think of myself and my reaction I get to like a wasp sting. If I see one, I run. Is it that bad of an allergy, Philip? Is it just when you consume it?
It is mainly when I consume it. However, I cannot own a feather pillow. I can't own a down jacket. And, I mean, it's a bummer, but
yeah,
I've lived with it all my life, so I'm okay with it now.
Yeah.
So it's fish and red meat for you.
Yes, sir.
So what is it your favorite? Is it a hamburger or is it a juicy steak?
I will take a ribeye any day.
Yeah.
However, I do enjoy steak tartare on occasion.
Holy smokes. Raw steak?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, tartare makes it go down easier, I guess. But Philip, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But I think when we looked at this story first and the pitch by the Dietary Commission, the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, it looks like they update the government standards of recommended nutrition. And it looks like they're going to ask to scale back on the red meat. This was from the Deseret News article from Lois Collins. And I do feel this whiplash whenever I'm talking about nutrition because we hear it so often from different dietitians, nutritionists, doctors. It's like, no, the carnivore diet is the best way to lose weight and bump up your energy. Others go total vegan. And it's kind of difficult to find, okay, well, what's the best practice? Is it just moderation in all things? Is it a little bit of everything? Pastas, fat, rice, protein, you name it. And that's where I get a little bit frustrated with these recommendations, is it feels like a moving target.
Yeah, DeseretNews.com is the place to catch that full article. They do say that studies have suggested that, too much red meat can lead to health issues, cause problems like diabetes, increase your dementia risk, and potentially colorectal cancer, so colon cancer.
But you said beef, right?
Chances are their favorite dinners have at least one thing in common. Beef. It's what's for dinner.
Is that what you're having for dinner?
Now I'm obsessing. Our last caller said ribeye steak.
You might not even make it to dinner. I'm going to look out the window in the 10 o'clock hour and be like, where's Dave? He's over there in the Crown Burger drive-thru. Straight ahead, Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson calling the show to answer our questions about why he is keeping track of how politicians in Utah County cast their ballots.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. The criminal case against a mother in Logan accused of starving her infant son to death has been dismissed. Psychologists say Jody Lee Anderson is not competent to stand trial and can't understand the charges against her. She was previously charged with aggravated murder and obstructing justice. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has completed and released the fourth and final volume of Saints. This series aims to bring the faith's past to life through the eyes of its members. The project was first approved by the First Presidency in 2010. The first volume of the series came out in 2018. Our top national story this hour, Vice President Harris trying to avoid damage to her presidential campaign based on remarks from President Biden yesterday. The president was quoted saying supporters of former President Trump are trash. Now, the White House says that's not exactly what he said, but Harris still tried to distance herself.
First of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
The president said on X that he was talking about a comedian who had made racist comments about Puerto Rico at a Trump rally. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 201 points. The NASDAQ is up 38. And our KSL weather, still cool, partly cloudy. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Do you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network? It's way more than I thought. I actually went home and counted how many connected devices I own. More than a dozen, all to keep me connected to the good stuff. My streaming, my gaming, all my interneting, you name it. Xfinity knows the number of devices we have connected to the internet is growing by the year. That's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds! For real. Now through December 31st, get Xfinity Gig Internet for $25 a month for 12 months with Peacock Premium, a $7.99 monthly value included at no extra cost when you add unlimited mobile or lock in your internet price for 2 years for just $5 more a month with a 1-year contract. Early termination fee applies. Make sure your home Wi-Fi can handle everything you throw at it and then some. Call, click, or visit a store today. Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account, taxes, and fees extra. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Currently $96 a month. Actual speeds vary.
My name is Brian King, and I'm running to be your governor because Utah is headed in the wrong direction, and we can do so much better. If you're frustrated by politics today, if you feel like politicians aren't listening to you, if you're looking for something different, for a leader who prioritizes common sense and bipartisanship, you have a place with us in this campaign. Join us and vote for Brian King for governor by November 5th. For the better.
Paid for by Brian for Utah.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have a little bit of slowing northbound I-15 for drivers coming out of Utah County over the point of the mountain. And just as they try to exit at Bangerter Highway, there's no crash reported in the area. Looks like it's just either a merging issue from people getting on from Bangerter onto northbound 15 or possibly exiting the freeway. Everybody else is pretty much traveling at freeway speeds. You'll just see a few brake lights from time to time in all the typical areas, plus road construction zones. Attention, commercial property managers and business owners. Snow doesn't have a campaign manager, but you do. Choose GoPave Utah to clear your lot and win the winter. GoPaveUtah.com. I'm Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with a high of 48 and a chance of showers. Tomorrow's high 55 with just a slight chance of rain. And right now, 42 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson told our colleague Lisa Riley-Roche at the Deseret News that he's tracking how politicians in Utah County return their ballots. And specifically telling the Deseret News he knows that Utah State Senator Mike McKell sent in a ballot through the mail without a stamp. In a moment, we're going to talk to Aaron Davidson, the Utah County Clerk, about why and get his reaction to State Senator Mike McKell's reaction when we asked him in the 9 o'clock hour how he felt about his ballot being tracked.
To me, I had a pit in my stomach. It's inappropriate. It's bizarre, and it really caught me off guard. And I understand I'm an elected official, and I'm always going to be held to a higher standard, but my right to a secret ballot is the same as everybody else's, and the fact that Aaron Davidson wants to isolate and track my individual ballot is extremely inappropriate in my view.
And I asked Senator McKell, why didn't you just put the 73-cent stamp on there? Like, what was the purpose? And he said, I wanted to test it out. I wanted to see if my ballot would go through, no problem, by not putting a stamp on. And he said it did. It went fine. It went through. It tracked my ballot. I was able to track my ballot, and it was counted just fine.
And to be clear, you don't have to put a stamp on your ballot.
No.
You can also drop it off at a ballot box, but you have every right to drop it off at a U.S. mailbox or at your local post office. Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson on the line with us right now. Let's just start with that. Why are you tracking politicians' ballots?
No, I'm not. That was in the primary. I'm not tracking it now. And the reason I track Mike McKell's is because Utah County decided that we weren't going to pay for return postage because there's 18 other counties that don't pay return postage. And Mike McKell actually passed the bill that said the counties do not have to pay return postage. And he made a big stink of it politically, making Facebook posts and Twitter posts saying, Utah County Clerk is horrible. He's not going to pay return postage. And he encouraged others not to put postage stamps on it because federal law says that if they don't, they still have to return it to us. So he was just kind of making a big stink of it. And so I decided to kind of look because the system tracks it. And anybody can find out. There's a file that is sent out every day. It's called the How Voted. record that anybody can pay $15 and get, and it shows how anybody that voted, how they returned their ballot to us. So it's public record. The only thing I added is that whether he put a stamp on it or not. So it's public record. He was just making a stink, telling people not to pay postage, and it's costing us money to have to pay for that postage. Whereas it was an encouragement to try and get people to use the drop box instead of the U.S. mail, because I feel that it's more safe and secure to use the drop box instead of the postage U.S. mail. We don't know who handles that mail, who's touched it, but if you use the drop box, we have a record of who touched that mail.
And we've talked about this with you in the past, but it is legal, and the post office will deliver ballots without a postage stamp on it to your office, and the individual voter does not have to pay postage. We've talked at length with you about that. What we want to know is, are you tracking other politicians? Because the quote here in the Deseret News suggests that you are tracking politicians' ballots.
Not the ballots, the envelope. There's a big difference in that article by Lisa. I called her back and said, you misquoted things. It makes it sound like I'm looking at their ballot. I don't look at their ballot. It's an electronic record that when it goes through the sorting machine, it records how they returned their ballot, and that's the only thing. And it's public record. It's on the has voted. Anybody can pay $15 and get that record every day during the election.
Well, the quote from you is that he didn't put a stamp on his return ballot last election. So that's the quote that you gave her.
Yeah, and I didn't look at the actual ballot. I looked at the record. And the record showed that he did not put a stamp on it. So he made a stink about telling people not to put postage on it, because you don't have to, but it was an encouragement, and we talked about this, to use the drop box because it's more safe and more secure. And I was asked by the county commissioners to find ways to save money, and Mike McKell passed the bill that said counties do not have to pay return postage. So I was just following the bill that Mike McKell helped pass. And then he's out saying, don't put postage on it, even though we don't have to pay to put postage on it. So it was just, it was a political thing. He tried to politicize it, and I just kind of followed his politics and called him out on it.
When we had Senator McKell join us earlier in the show, he had some concerns, and I want to play the quote so you can react directly to it. But he was he had some concerns about whether or not his ballot was being viewed and the way he voted.
I don't know that. If he can isolate my ballot and look at my individual ballot, I'm not confident that he's not also looking at how I voted. I think he's claiming that he didn't look at how I actually voted. But I certainly don't have confidence to say that I don't believe Aaron Davidson's looking at my individual vote. If he can track down my individual ballot, what's stopping him from looking at my actual votes? And if he can do it to me, he can also do it to others.
How do you address his concerns or his doubts or his thoughts that you may have seen the way he voted or how he cast his ballot?
That's a complete hypothecation. The system tracks how the ballot was returned. Once the ballot envelope has been authenticated, the ballot is separated from the envelope, and no one can tell how anybody voted. There was no looking at ballot. There's no way. I don't sit there and watch everything coming through. It was done days after the ballot was removed from the envelope. There's no way for me to have gone back. And I don't do that. I've taken an oath of office that I wouldn't do that. So it's just him trying to create more turmoil and more something to talk about. So it's complete. It's BS.
We're speaking live right now to Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson about the comments that he made in the Deseret News regarding tracking politicians, how they return their ballots. And you've said you're just tracking the envelope, not the actual ballot. Who else?
It's not even the envelope. It's the record of the envelope.
The record of the envelope. But why release that? And you've explained it, but why release that? And are you actually making people feel as though you're going to release more information about how they vote? You see what I'm saying? Like, you're releasing one individual's voter record as an elected official. How can you assure us, for the folks who live in Utah County, that you aren't tracking other people's ballots and how they return them?
Because I'm being more transparent. Anyone can pay $15 and get those records, and they can look at how anybody returned their ballot. You can look at politicians, you can look at your neighbor, you can look at anybody that returned their ballot. You can know how they returned their ballot. He was making a political issue out of it, and so I countered his political maneuverings and said how he returned his ballot, and that he didn't pay postage. He was too cheap to pay 73 cents to return his ballot.
Well, that's not the case. What he said, he returned it in the U.S. mail. He returned it in the U.S. mail without a postage, without a stamp on it, so he could actually make sure that the system is working properly, even though there's no stamp, which people don't have to put on that. But because of the situation that had come up earlier in the year regarding your push to have people drop their ballots off in ballot boxes and not use the U.S. mail, he was putting it to the test. So it tested fine. His ballot got counted. But the allegation that he was too cheap does not wash, because that's not why he said he did it, was to save himself 70 cents.
It's that he was encouraging others to not put postage on their ballot.
But we don't have to.
You don't have to. You're right. You absolutely don't have to. But you can also take consideration of the other taxpayers' money and go and use a drop box, which is way more secure than using the U.S. Postal Service.
Well,
we've got
Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson. Have you been seeing what is going on in other states? And I'm not suggesting that is happening here, but we do know that there's been issues with an incendiary device on one ballot box, and we've seen ballots burning in another state. We've had problems in Oregon and Washington State. So there are some people who might feel that the U.S. Postal Service, and I took mine inside, and I didn't put a stamp on mine either because I didn't have to. I took it inside the U.S. Postal Service. The point is that it is okay and it is legal to vote either by ballot box, in person, or through the U.S. mail. Is that correct?
That's correct. But I believe that there are some ways of returning your ballot that are more safe and secure than others. There are other issues with the U.S. Postal Service, and I've filed at least a half a dozen complaints of issues that have happened this election with the U.S. Postal Service and how our ballots are being returned through them, or not being returned, or not being delivered. There are issues with the U.S. Postal Service. They have become a bulk mail processing center rather than a letter delivery service. And there are issues, and they are trying to address them. And I've talked with our regional representatives on several issues that we've had this year with how ballots are being returned or not returned through the U.S. Postal Service. It's not as safe as secure as using a drop box or voting in person. It just isn't.
Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Have you ever heard of the 5 Ps? That's right, the 5 Ps. These can be applied to most every area of your life, but it's especially true for you and your money. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and many years ago when I was a young man in the Marine Corps, I learned about the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Now, you can't control what's happening with the stock market, but you can control how you plan for it. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have been helping our clients with the 5 Ps for years. We have hearts of teachers and will never complicate by using financial jargon. Our fee structure is transparent. The more you make, the more we make. The majority of our clients come from other financial advisors. Isn't it time for a second opinion to allow Trajan Wealth to help you with the 5 Ps too? Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
It's been an unusually warm October.
Most 80-degree plus days ever in history.
But it is October.
Snow levels could come down to 5,000 feet again.
Expect scary cold temps for Halloween week and get an updated KSL forecast before any tricks or treats. In your car at 102.7 FM.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. A letter in your mailbox says you could save money bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. You saw it after your teenager backed the car into the mailbox. Dumb news. A new mailbox, basically a box on a stick, costs up to $400. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and go with paperless mail instead. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com, your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a murder case against a mother accused of starving her baby son to death has been dismissed in Logan. Second, Vice President Harris is trying to avoid damage to her campaign from comments by President Biden about Trump supporters. And third, election security in Southern California means flying ballot boxes by helicopter to the place where they're counted. 42 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The wife, mother-in-law of a man who was shot dead in Utah earlier this year are under arrest, and they're accused of conspiring to kill him. There are a lot of layers to this ongoing investigation out of American Fork. But we're going to work through this, the actual investigation with KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas in just a moment. But to set the scene, the brother-in-law was arrested early on in the shooting. And now this man's mother-in-law and wife are also facing charges. And police have alleged that there was, in addition to the ongoing shooting investigation, that they have uncovered after searching the victim's vehicle, Dave, a small tracking device inside his vehicle. Then they alleged that he was being tracked by his by his wife and his in-laws.
Tracking is so new to us. Not that there hasn't been tracking technology for decades, but the ease that we can track each other, whether it's just through each other's cell phones or an air tag, the technology has gotten so affordable and so easy to use that we can track basically anybody with very little inconvenience or very little cost.
Yeah. We'll get more into that and the technology of this all these tracking devices in about 20 minutes or so. But right now, let's bring on Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, to walk us through the case. Greg, this happens in American Fork. This man is shot to death. It sounds like he just arrived at this home in American Fork, and it happens on Friday, July 12th. So if our listeners don't remember this case, it could be because it was a couple of months ago, and he's shot dead. And then through the investigation, police arrest a brother-in-law in the shooting and now have arrested his wife and his mother-in-law in what they've called a conspiracy to commit murder.
Interesting case, and you're right. It's one of those cases that could become a novel someday. But it appears that he was coming home to American Fork from California, that his family members or someone put a tracking device on his car so they would know exactly when he got home. And then once he arrived at home, at least according to the police, there was some sort of scuffle. He was shot. And then the shooter, who's his brother-in-law, his wife's brother, claimed that it was in self-defense. But police feel like the self-defense was set up. That is, the deceased had a knife in his hand, but police believe that that was placed there after he was killed. So it wasn't a truly self-defense case. But to get to your point, the mother-in-law and his wife are both being charged in part because of this tracking device and the fact that they were following him, assisting the wife's brother in committing this crime, and that this was kind of a planned deal from the start.
Greg, the tracking aspect of it is very interesting to me because it's so easily done right now. I can pull up my settings on my phone. We're all on the same family account. I can track every one of my family members. We do it all the time. We do it for fun. We do it for security. So it's very, very common. At what point does it cross the line of tracking somebody?
Yeah, so it's really not uncommon, and it is something that happens. And what you always have to look at when you consider something like this is what's the person's expectation of privacy. So if you put a tracking device on their car, you would have a low expectation of privacy. That is, you don't really have any expectation that people aren't going to see or know where your car is, and people could follow it if they wanted. A tracking device in, say, your briefcase or wallet or something like that would be entirely different because they're tracking your individual movements where you may have a higher expectation of privacy. So absent like a protective order or some other thing that would preclude this, tracking devices aren't of themselves illegal to put on a car in this situation. And that's why I don't see that any of these parties have been charged with anything in relation to the tracking device.
Well, but let me use another example. Let's say, I'll just put myself out there. I'm dating somebody, and this hasn't happened. This is just a scenario that I want to work through with you. And they place a tracking device on my car. They don't own the car. I own the car. They're occasionally in the car if I have to drive them somewhere. What are the legalities of that?
Well, it could cross the line, Debbie, into what we call stalking. That is sort of just following a person and doing things that serve no valid purpose and are just meant to bother. Now, if you don't know it's there, then I guess you would have a hard time claiming it's bothered you. But maybe if you found it later on, you might feel violated. You might feel that you'd been inappropriately followed, and certainly you wouldn't even want to be with that person anymore. But there are situations where people consider these, and police consider these, a form of stalking. And if that's the case, and there would have to be other incidents that sort of corroborated that, other forms of stalking, but it could be an element toward a stalking charge.
Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst. Thank you for joining us, Greg.
You bet.
I was going to just follow up with that. I suppose if you found something like that in your car in just a few moments, we're going to explain that there is a way to figure out, according to the tech expert we spoke to figure out if there is some sort of a tracking device on your car. Although we talked specifically about AirTags, and these are super small devices, right? They're like the size of he equated Earl Foote, we talked to from Nexus IT, and you'll hear from him in just a moment, Dave, about the size of a quarter. You have AirTags. You use them to keep track of things like your wallet, right?
My wallet, my keys. I've got half a dozen spread throughout my family and my house.
And do you get any kind of notification to your iPhone that you have a tracking device, an AirTag in the area?
My own. So, for example, if I leave my keys behind, it'll alert you and say, "Hey, you left your wallet behind. You left your keys behind."
But that's because the app is on your phone.
Exactly, because that AirTag is for me. Now, if my wife has an AirTag and I leave, it doesn't alert me and say, "Hey, your wife's AirTag or her wallet or keys were left behind." So I don't get any kind of a notification. When my wife gets in the car with me, it doesn't alert me that there is an AirTag close. If you were to sit in a car, or when I see you at work, it doesn't alert me if you have an AirTag. So I don't totally understand how these AirTags work, because right now my son is on a plane. He's flying to Georgia, and he has an AirTag in his luggage that I can track, that I have been watching all morning long. But he doesn't have an iPhone. So how does this relay the message to me?
Yeah. Well, let's work through it with Earl Foote. He's our tech expert. He calls the show from time to time. I spoke to him before the show this morning, and he said, look, if there is an AirTag that has been planted in your car and you are worried about something like that, there is a way to know. And he'll explain how next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour: police trying to identify human remains found by a hiker in the mountains above Springville. KSL TV's Andrew Adams has that.
Detectives believe the remains are more recent.
Sometime within the last few years.
But with few leads, they're asking for the public's help to try to identify them.
If you know somebody who frequents this particular area and you haven't seen or heard from them for an extended period of time.
For now, neighbors are in disbelief.
It's steep. It's really steep that way, so not a lot of hikers go that way.
After a discovery on this mountain they never expected.
I've never heard anything like that in Springville, Utah.
Hikers tell us this area is a good place to get a view of the sunset. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: ballot security is a worry everywhere in the country, and in Los Angeles, the county sheriff is making plans to fly ballot boxes by helicopter to the central counting location. Police dogs are also out sniffing mail-in drop boxes to make sure they don't contain any toxic substances. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average has been up this morning, up now 136 points, and the NASDAQ is up 22. Our KSL weather looks like things are going to stay cool with a few clouds around. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
I love hearing from people that have joined me on Salt Lake City Fat Loss on that program, because their face lights up. They are as amazed as I was with how effective the weight loss program is with Salt Lake City Fat Loss. I had somebody come up to me just the other day and tell me, I lost 25 pounds. I'm still going. I feel great. I got 2 weeks left, and I'm hoping to hit this number. And with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, they teach you how to lose up to a pound of fat a day. And if that sounds too good to be true, that's exactly what I experienced. I lost 57 pounds in 60 days, and I learned a great deal about myself, my habits, how to eat more healthy. And if you're interested in trying this program, we do it without injections. We do it without surgery. Go ahead and reach out to them. Have a free consultation. It's slcfatloss.com. That's the best way to get a hold of them, is just go to the website. Learn more at slcfatloss.com.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com, your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jim Weber is here from Foothill Oriental Rugs. And Jim, it's always exciting to have you here because then we know it's the semi-annual sale. First of all, you are one of the very few direct importers.
You hear that old cliche, we cut out the middleman, and what it enables me to do is I get better merchandise, more unique merchandise, even have a lot of things specifically made for me, and I can offer them at prices 25% below the industry average. So it's a win-win for me, and it's a win-win for my customers.
What have you got on sale for us?
Well, for instance, we've got a 9x12 India Agra, retail $46.54, 70% off, on sale for $13.96. We've got a 6x9 Tibetan Contemporary rug, retail $3,400, on sale for $1,020. If you've ever needed a rug, this is a great time to come in and look at rugs because our retail prices are better than the industry and average, and right now they're marked down up to 70% off.
Don't miss out. The semi-annual sale is underway now at Foothill Oriental Rugs, 1460 South Foothill Drive, just south of Foothill Village.
You're busy. We get it. Life moves fast, and there's hardly a moment to breathe. But for the next 10 seconds, this is your time. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Inhale, exhale. Feeling a little lighter? Taking action is one of the most powerful forms of self-care. In 2024, voting is self-care. Visit rockthevote.org and take action in just 3 easy steps. Check your registration, check in with yourself, and check your voting plan. Visit rockthevote.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We're finally delay-free on the I-15 corridor for the first time all morning long. No problems whether you're northbound or southbound between Utah and Weber counties. You're also going to have a pretty good drive on the east and west side belt routes. Your only slowdowns that happen from time to time are in road construction zones, especially on Bangerter Highway in the Riverton Bluffdale area, as well as northbound Legacy Parkway through Woods Cross and Bountiful. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 48 and a chance of showers. Tomorrow's high 55 with just a slight chance of rain. And right now, 45 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Police say during their murder investigation of a man who was shot to death in American Fork earlier this year, they uncovered, once they began searching the victim's car, an AirTag that they believe was used by his in-laws and also his wife to track his moves, not only in Utah, but also in California. And it had gone on for a couple of weeks, according to what police have alleged. And that he was, in fact, lured to the home. That's the word police used, lured to the home. And now 3 people in custody, all family members in connection with this murder. But Dave, as we talk about not only the case, we're also talking about this issue of tracking using something as small as an AirTag.
Yes, an AirTag that many of us have. I have half a dozen in my family. And they said that this AirTag, police say this AirTag was placed in a location that detectives say it would have been difficult to find if you were not looking for it. So it does appear or seem to the detective's point of view that this had been hidden in the vehicle for the express purpose of tracking.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at this actual statement more clearly. And I believe it was found almost like in a box of sorts amongst receipts and other items. And like you said, it would have been really difficult to spot it because these AirTags are about the size of a quarter. So just before the show, I jumped on the phone with the CEO of a tech company called Nexus IT. His name is Earl Foote. He's been on the show from time to time when we get into these areas of tech issues to help us sort through what an AirTag is capable of, how it works, and then also you got to stay tuned because toward the end of my discussion with him, Dave, he talks about how there is a way to detect if there's an AirTag in our own cars that we don't know is there and may have been placed there by somebody else.
The AirTags, certainly their intended purpose is not to be malicious, right? They were created by Apple, and there's other similar devices by other manufacturers that are created to help people track their possessions, particularly important or expensive possessions, and a lot of people do use them to know where their car's at. For example, if you got a teenager, that's beginning to drive and you want to make sure they're safe, right? You might put an AirTag, in the car if you don't have GPS location on the car or something like that. People use them for a myriad of different reasons, but certainly they've prompted the use, and not just AirTags, but even phones and other mobile devices have prompted the use of people who have other purposes, right, that sometimes are not necessarily well-intentioned, right, and they use them to track people and at times stalk people. It can be pretty creepy and pretty scary.
So according to this, the police say they found an AirTag in a cloth storage drawer, which was resting on the passenger side of the front floorboard of the victim's truck. And it was found in the bottom of the drawer, which was filled with random debris, like paper and receipts, magazines, snacks, and drinks. And based on the location of the AirTag, detectives observed it would have been difficult to find if you were not looking for it. So these little AirTags are really small, correct?
Yeah, they're about the size of a quarter. So they're not, they're not very big. There's another manufacturer called Tile, also that makes similar, GPS, Bluetooth tracking devices, and they're all about the size of a quarter. And if you're not looking for them, or you're not aware that one has been placed, in a possession of yours, they can certainly be hard to find.
Now, somebody who's tracking that AirTag has some sort of an app on their end to be able to track it?
That's correct, yes. So there is an application that you load on a mobile device on a phone, and with your phone you're able to see the location of where that tag is, that tracking device, and you can generally see it anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. I've known, for example, again, parents of teenagers who have gone on vacation, for example, and they leave, something like an AirTag in their family car that the teenager is going to be using, while grandma watches them and they're on vacation. But, they might be in China and looking at, where the kid is at on a random Thursday night in Utah, right, to make sure they're safe. And so, you can see the location of that device on your phone from pretty much anywhere.
And does it? I don't have one of these. Does it? And maybe maybe you don't know. Does it actually notify the person with the app on their phone when the vehicle or the object, whatever the AirTag is in, begins to move?
Not to my knowledge. Honestly, it's been a bit since I've toyed with one of these, Debbie. So, Potentially there's a setting where you can be notified of movement, but generally speaking, if I'm not mistaken, it's just a static. You open the app and check in on location when you want to.
And on the flip side of that, Earl, does the person who has an AirTag on their car somehow get notified to their own cell phone that there's something in the area, or can they get notified that might be tracking them? Does their cell phone send them an alert? Like if I get in my car and there's an AirTag in the trunk I'm not aware of, and I've got my iPhone, on the dash right there, and would I get a notification like, hey, there's an AirTag in the area?
No, you won't. That is, the difficult thing of the situation now. If you do suspect anything, the easiest thing that you can do is to open the Bluetooth settings on your phone and scan for Bluetooth devices, which will look for, any Bluetooth device that's within range, which range of Bluetooth is not very far. It's 20 or 30 feet, depending upon the materials of, wherever you're located at, right? Construction materials or, vehicle, the steel and all that kind of stuff. So you open up that Bluetooth, settings, you scan, you see if there's something obscure or odd that you don't expect. Again, if you suspect that somebody might be tracking you, it's best to maybe, if you suspect, for example, in your car, drive to a random parking lot that, has plenty of space around it where you wouldn't pick up any other Bluetooth device, scan and see if you find a Bluetooth device. And if so, then it's likely that, something is in the car and you're going to have to look for it and try to find it in the car, right? But no, unfortunately, there is no notification that would tell you if an AirTag or similar tracking device has been planted in your vehicle or anywhere else.
Let me just give you an idea of how powerful the AirTag is. I told you about my son. Jumped on a plane. He's flying to Georgia this morning. He has one in his stowaway luggage, so the one he checks. It registered as he was flying over Denver, Colorado. I just saw the update. So it is extremely powerful. He is 30,000 feet up in the air, and somehow it sent a message that tells me where he's at.
So what you're saying is it can track a lot of places.
It's extremely powerful. I don't think many of us expected or knew how powerful the AirTag is.
Well, I thought the biggest takeaway for me in that interview when I was talking to Earl was, look, if you're concerned about this for whatever reason, your phone isn't going to automatically alert you that somebody has planted a AirTag, small AirTag in the, under the tire in your trunk. But what you can do is drive to an area where there's, I envision, nothing else around, because, this can be kind of like you don't want to pick up somebody else's, right? And you open up your phone to find out if your phone is trying to connect to another Bluetooth device that you don't recognize. Thanks, Earl Foote. Great information. We are going to post this online, of course, podcast this. So if you missed this conversation, we will podcast this immediately after our show. And if you're concerned or somebody else is concerned about, an AirTag and it's secretly be planted on something that you own or that you drive, make sure you give it a listen and give it a share.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio. With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house now, you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
The Stern team, powered by Amato Real Estate.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a hiker found human remains in a canyon east of Springville. It had apparently been there a long time. Second, helicopters and police dogs, part of the election security plan in Los Angeles. And third, a farm family in Utah making more money growing giant pumpkins than they did milking dairy cows. 45 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Let's talk housing, thanks to our friends at the Stern team. Of course, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. All you got to do is visit sternteam.com to find out more. Dave and I talk every Wednesday. Or is today Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
Okay. Do you ever have
one
that
of those
moment?
weeks.
You're like,
This Wednesday either feels like a Monday or a Friday. It kind of depends on where you're
apologies
at.
to our friends at the Stern team. It's Wednesday. Yeah, I don't know why in that moment I was like, I don't even know if is it Saturday and I'm accidentally at work. Is
More
this a
caffeine,
dream?
Deb. More caffeine.
We're going to talk about home renovations. We always talk with the Stern team about homes and values and what the market looks like. Well, today, Dave brought in a Wall Street Journal article, and he's like, we've got to talk about, renovations and how much bang for our buck we get for renovations. And he's got a Wall Street Journal breakdown, dollar for dollar and renovation for renovation. And I am a big renovator. When I walk into a home I'm going to buy, I'm already looking at what walls I can move. How many?
Is this a weight-bearing wall?
How I can expand the kitchen.
That's Deb's first
question. Dave.
Is this a weight-bearing wall?
You know me so well. It totally is. You know how many contractors. I'm like, can you come over and just make sure? I think this is not a weight-bearing wall, but I need to have a professional look at this.
I had a buddy that took down a wall. But it was just a monster. It was a weight-bearing wall. He's throwing in beams and drilling into the foundation. It was an absolute nightmare.
So can I lay my experience out real quick on renovations, and then I want you to go over like whether the renovation I did was worth it or not. I've renoed 2 kitchens, totally torn them out, and not just patchwork here and patchwork there. Totally torn them out, torn them down, reconfigured kitchens, and made them more open. I have renoed entire bathrooms. It means you just take it down to nothing. It's an open space. It looks a lot bigger than it does once you put a toilet in and a shower in. It's like, wow, there's all this space here. I have taken out closets. I took down, y'all who've bought a home that was built in the early 1970s here in Utah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Please don't try this. A friend of mine was over. He was a contractor, so it was good. He was over at the house, and we're looking at this fireplace we had. My husband was at work, and I'm like, can we take this down before he gets home? You know, it's that chunky brick that goes all the way up the wall, and we had vaulted ceilings. So it was like skyscraper type height of chunky brick. I think that brick covered the entire wall. And then, of course, you've got the ledge, right, where you sit. We took it all out.
You demoed it?
We demoed it, the entire
Demo day,
wall.
best day.
So that's just, and then we've redone, you know, we've done roofs and stuff like that. But so that gives you a taste of where I'm at. And I need you to tell me what was worth it and what wasn't.
Okay, so there's a couple of things going on with this Wall Street Journal article. And the very first thing that we have to acknowledge is that people are staying in their homes twice as long today as they were 25 years ago.
That's good.
So we're staying put. So the reason you're seeing remodels is because people are saying, instead of selling my home and rebuying something, I'm just going to fix the house that I'm in.
I had a friend who did that. They weighed the cost of moving and the expense of moving with the idea of remodeling their home, beautiful home. And they did. They chose to stay and remodel.
Yeah, my brother made the exact same decision because the math worked out better for them. They said, you know what, if we just change this wall or we opened it up, then I could stomach this much better.
Yeah.
Now, it depends on how much you spend, because not very often is your home, even if you're living there twice as long as you did 25 years ago, is your forever home. It's not mostly ever your forever home. At some point you're going to move. So you've got to do a little math of, am I going to make money back on this? Am I going to get a return on investment? So this is how they broke it down in the Wall Street Journal. If you're spending a modest amount, now their definition of a modest amount is $27,000. If you were to sell your home, you can expect to recover about 96% of that investment.
So if you make a better bathroom or two, I mean, my experience is bathrooms are 10 to 12 grand, maybe 15, 10 at least. You could, that might be worth it because you want to get rid of the leaky faucets and the leaky toilets. Okay, I get that. Okay, that's good. You're
going to lose maybe $1,000.
Okay.
So the value of your home will go up 26, but you spent 27.
But you have a toilet that flushes, and you have a shower that works, and so for you, you have a better experience if you just spend that money in living in the home. Okay, that makes sense.
And then you're asking yourself, is that $1,000 that I'm losing, is it worth that upgrade? And that's the calculation you're making. Now, the more difficult calculation is when you start making major renovations.
Okay,
and what they call a major renovation is a major upscale remodeling is how they define it. Averages about $160,000.
I could see that. Okay.
This is the shocker. The ROI is you will recoup 38% when you sell
of that 160 grand.
So you're losing almost $100,000 on that renovation.
And are kitchens lumped into that?
And,
and like you want to remove a wall, or you want to take two bedrooms and make them into one. Is that what they're saying? So you spend 160 grand. You're only going, wherever you spend it, you're only going to recoup how much?
38%.
Oh, okay.
So you're losing $100,000. Again, you've got to do the math of, does living here, if I'm going to live here for 10 years, can I put up with this old kitchen, or do I have to have the remodel, whatever it might be? But on a small renovation, $30,000 or less, you're going to recoup about most of it when you sell. If it's this bigger, $160,000, 38%. So one of the most popular things and one of the more expensive things to remodel, obviously, is the kitchen.
Right.
Because you're looking at appliances and plumbing fixtures, especially if you tear it all down basically to the studs.
I've done that twice.
And you're throwing up tile and cabinets. Well, appliances and plumbing fixtures can break down to about $42,000. This is how they broke it down. This is how they get to that $150,000 range. And you can say, oh, that's absurd. That's way too expensive. But this is how they break down the budget. Appliance and plumbing fixtures, $42,000. Counters and backsplash, $31,000. $34,000 for cabinets and hardware. $8,000 for lighting. If you put a new window in there, there's an extra $5,000.
What kitchen are they remodeling?
A nice one, apparently.
Well, apparently. Go ahead.
Oak flooring at $8,000. Painting $13,000. Plumbing at $7,000. Now that sounds steep. I haven't done
very high end.
Tear down to the studs.
I could do the math in my head real quick. I already had the appliances, so that doesn't really count, but it does count. I probably spent $30,000 on my kitchen remodel.
How many years ago?
Oh, it would have been maybe 2016.
Okay, so you're about maybe 10 years ago.
It was beautiful.
8 to 10 years ago.
Looked beautiful.
So that, because you spent $30,000, you can expect that your house would have largely just kept its value.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, good to know, Dave. Thank you. Those are some good numbers you shared. I appreciate it. Gives us food for thought. And thanks as well to the Stern team. Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Just visit sternteam.com to find out more.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Some voters are worried after ballot drop boxes were vandalized in Arizona, Oregon, and Washington, but the Salt Lake County clerk, Lenny Chapman, tells KSL TV our votes are safe.
I have law enforcement patrolling and picking up from our drop boxes every single day, including Sundays, helps guarantee that we are safe.
If your ballot does get damaged, then you can still vote in person. A family in Cache Valley says they've had lots of fun selling giant pumpkins. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has that story.
Couple Jim and Katie Siemens gave up the dairy farm to grow pumpkins that weigh in at hundreds of pounds. They tell KSL TV they've made more money with the pumpkins, and they're even getting hired out of festivals across the country to supply their giant crop. Katie says the lasting warm weather that we've seen this year has really given the pumpkins a growth spurt.
The family also grows pumpkins into face molds, creating pumpkin busts of famous faces. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. New numbers from the Commerce Department show the economy is growing and that people are still spending money. The U.S. economy grew at a healthy 2.8% from July through September. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now 75 points, while the NASDAQ is up 16. And our KSL weather. Looks like partly cloudy skies and staying cool today. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8th, 2025, if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at www.robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodity interests can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Displayed prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. Learn more at www.robinhood.com/election.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. I followed as one of my former students, an experienced manager, went through the hiring process. He went through a screening and then 4 levels of interviews before he was finally hired. After 4 or 5 months of failed applications, by the way, I asked him why he finally succeeded, and he gave me this gem of wisdom. I realized that most of the applicants that they were interviewing had the technical skills to do the job right. To stand out, I needed to show my collaboration skills. He was right. The president of a country, a college, or a corporation will face complex problems. Complex problems can only be solved through collaboration. To learn collaboration with others, learn it in an MBA program at Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
At Macy's, our famous Kong Cone is here to add a sweet chill to your autumn adventures. Whether you're crunching through leaves or cozying up with family, this towering cone of creamy goodness is the perfect fall companion. Stop by Macy's today and grab a famous Kong Cone, because fall is cool, and your treat should be too. Macy's. Happy shopping!
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Things are moving along pretty well all across the Wasatch Front. No delays on I-15, the east or west side belt routes, I-80 or the 201 freeway. We have had a few city street crashes, but the last one has just been cleared up in Ogden on Wall Avenue, so everything's looking good. Open new worlds for the blind and disabled. Volunteer to read and edit books at Utah State Library Program for the blind and disabled. Visit blindlibrary.utah.gov. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy skies with a high of 48 and a chance of showers. Tomorrow highs of 55 with just a slight chance of rain. And right now we're at 44 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Your voice, your vote 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Early voting by mail and by in-person voting, the numbers are just huge. 54 million. Creeping toward 55 million, according to NBC News and their early vote tracker. I personally have been impressed with the turnout, Dave. How about you?
54 million is quite shocking. And I think because we have so typically talked about voting day, like election day, November 5th, my birthday, big celebration. But it is really a 3-week event now. After the first week, there were 14 million votes. Now we're, just a week away, and you're looking at 54 million votes that are cast. What is interesting to me is the breakdown of who is voting right now.
Taylor Morgan, KSL at Night host, also one of our political insiders who helps us walk through all the polls and the early vote totals so far. What do you make of it, Taylor?
Dave and Debbie, great to be with you. The thing that I am most excited about is a story that you both have been talking about this morning, and that is the high level of confidence that Utah voters have in by-mail voting. As you both discussed earlier in the show, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson was on KSL at Night last night, talked about a new poll out from the Hinckley Institute of Politics, saying that 75% of Utah voters are confident in the by-mail voting process, and we are clearly seeing that reflected in the voter participation numbers so far. As of this morning, 509,000 approximately Utah voters have already cast a ballot by mail. By comparison, just over 11,000 Utah voters have cast a ballot by mail, in person. So we are seeing a ton of Utah voters participate through by mail voting. And Dave, as you just alluded to, Republicans in Utah are voting by mail at a significantly higher rate earlier in the cycle, earlier in the process than they ever have before.
So the big question I have, because we're seeing a similar trend nationally where Republicans are starting to show up more for mail-in voting early. Has the war on early voting, and that's sometimes how I viewed it with Republicans, is the war on early voting or by-mail voting in favor of voting in person, have they let that battle go?
Well, Dave, I don't think all of them have. Unfortunately, we just heard earlier on your show from a certain county clerk who is still, unfortunately, out there criticizing using the Postal Service to vote by mail. He is wrong. He is incorrect. The evidence is clear. Voting by mail is secure. Putting your ballot in the mailbox, processing it through the Postal Service is absolutely secure. There is no evidence to suggest it is not secure. And so we are seeing a couple things. Number one, evidence suggests that the criticisms of voting by mail and early voting by some Republicans, including the Trump campaign in 2020, evidence suggests that cost Donald Trump the election in 2020. It's never a good idea to discourage your supporters from casting a ballot in any way. The Trump campaign learned from that. And this year, we have seen nationally that Republicans are trusting vote by mail. They are voting early, especially in key swing states. That is really going to have an impact, I think, in this election. And fortunately, we are seeing that confidence in voting by mail also here in Utah, despite false information coming from a handful of detractors still.
Taylor Morgan, KSL at Night host, also political insider, runs Morgan May Public Relations here in town, works with campaigns, reacting to the 54-plus million mail and early in-person votes that have been cast across the nation, and also a significant number cast already here in Utah. I want to add to that, too. I think when you're messaging anything, the last thing you want to do is message a bunch of confusion. And even to some extent, I hear people talking about early voting, from a party perspective. And I think that clarity is just so key. The vote, your ballot comes in the mail. You can cast it at your kitchen table, and you can either drop it off at the, mailbox early, or you can throw it in a ballot box, or your next choice is you can go vote in person. It's just that clear. And I think when the marketing of it all and the messaging of it all gets muddled, then you run, circles around. You run people in circles, and they get confused. And I'm not trying to pinpoint the older generation like me, but there are certainly a lot of people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who are still voting, and the last thing I want to find out is that the bunch of them are confused.
Yeah. No, it's a great point, Debbie. I would really stress that, to everyone, to all of your listeners, it is so convenient and so accessible to track your ballot, to ask questions about how the process works. If you're not sure that you want to put your ballot in your mailbox, that's okay. You can take it to your clerk's office, but you don't have much time left. You can sign up to track your ballot at vote.utah.gov. You can find your county clerk's contact information there as well. Really, Debbie, voting in Utah is secure, accessible, convenient, and very, very transparent. Everyone can trust that this process works well.
Taylor, you referenced this number before, and I just did some quick math on the fly, but you were talking about the number of people that have voted by mail compared to those that have voted in person. So it's 508,884 that have voted by mail, just 11,000 in person. That is 98% of the people have voted by mail. It's really a staggering number. Now, I know that Utah, we have been very comfortable and we were early adopters when it came to mail-in voting. Nationally, though, what are we seeing?
Yeah, Dave, great point. We saw, if you recall, back in 2020, we saw a lot of states have to rush to try to implement by-mail voting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, without years piloting that kind of a process like Utah had done, other states had a few roadblocks here and there, and it created some issues and some doubts and concerns, right? However, those processes in other states, they have been fine-tuned, right? They have worked through those technical issues, and voters in other states, especially in swing states, have demonstrated that they have a high degree of confidence in by-mail voting, just like voters in Utah do. So, Dave, we're seeing, especially Republicans in key swing states like Georgia, they are voting at nearly twice the rate, voting by mail and voting early, as they did in 2020. That is certainly going to have a huge impact nationally and, of course, in these swing states. And I think it's a good thing, regardless of the outcome, not supporting one party or candidate or the other. It is a really good thing when more voters are participating in our elections.
Taylor, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much, Taylor Morgan, host of KSL at Night. And as we're looking at this 54 million votes that have been cast already, NBC News has been tracking this. By party, as they break it down, Deb, 41% registered Democrats, 40% registered Republicans. So just about split.
Straight ahead, we've been talking about a man who was shot to death, a murder investigation that's been well underway for the last couple of months in American Fork. Now police revealing new evidence about a small tracking device they say they found inside the victim's car. The American Fork Police Department joining us next to talk about this case.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
If you're one of the millions of Americans right now that has a family member that is struggling with addiction, this message is for you, because Renaissance Ranch wants to help you, the family, out.
Yeah, and they do help the whole family out. And in fact, even if you are just a member of the public and you want to take one of their free online classes, you can just go online to renaissanceranch.com and participate in their regular classes. They hold these classes all the time, and you can jump online and learn from the experts. I mean, you can learn from a spousal perspective, a parent's perspective, what your loved one is going through from a personal perspective. And Dave, I've said this so many times. It can be so easy to lose yourself in your loved one's addiction. Let Renaissance Ranch help you.
And the reason they offer these free online classes is because the research has shown that when you get the family members, when you get loved ones involved in the healing process, the chances of a positive outcome skyrocket. In fact, I'm looking at renaissanceranch.com right now, and I'm looking at those free online classes. The next one is tomorrow. It's on Thursday. There's a men's addiction recovery group. It starts at 8 o'clock, and you can just join this on Zoom.
And remember, it's free. And it's open to the public. I want to stress that. It is open to you. So make sure you look it up.
renaissanceranch.com.
What is even happening?
BYU takes the win.
What a great play call.
It's a sunshine celebration.
Congrats to our BYU Cougars, tracking to the Big 12 championship game with win number 8. Listen to Cougar Sports Saturday this weekend from noon to 3 on your legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place?
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
Built with players no one else wanted.
We knew no one believed in us.
Reached the league's highest heights.
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments.
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
And unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the Salt Lake County Clerk is assuring voters their ballots are secure. Second, the U.S. economy growing at a rate just under 3% in the third quarter. That's a rate economists say is healthy. And third, BYU's national ranking in the top 10 of college football, bringing more national attention to the Cougars quarterback. 44 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
American Fork Police Department is going to join us in just a moment, live on the line, Dave. And we're talking about an ongoing murder investigation where a man, they say, was shot to death this summer. And they initially arrested his brother-in-law. And now we're just learning that his wife and his mother-in-law have also been taken into custody in what police are referring to as a conspiracy. And as part of their investigation, they also uncovered an AirTag in the victim's car. And they say they believe that was used to track the victim to the location where he showed up at this home in American Fork, where he was shot and killed.
The claim, though, was that he was shot in self-defense, but police believe that this was murder and that it was not self-defense. Therefore, have been charged as such. But this AirTag angle is very interesting to me, Debbie, because there are millions of AirTags out there being used all the time, and they were created not for nefarious reasons, but just because we didn't want to lose our keys. I've got an AirTag right now on every set of keys in my house because I want to be able to find them. And what they do, if you don't have an AirTag, they're basically just a little tracking device. And you can pull up your phone. It will show you the location. You can actually tell it to start beeping. If you're trying to find your keys, it'll start beeping and you follow the sound. But these things are extremely powerful and they're prolific. They're all over the place.
Lieutenant Stuart Ford, did I say your last name right?
Yes, you did.
Hi, thanks for joining us with the American Fork Police Department. Appreciate you jumping on the line with us to talk more about this case. The victim was shot to death in July. And then as part of the ongoing investigation, you uncovered and alleged that there was an AirTag found in his car. Do you think he might not have been aware that it was in there?
No, all indications that we found during the investigation showed that he was not aware that there was an AirTag tracking his movements.
Is there anything inherently wrong with tracking somebody? This is something I do for every one of my family members. We have an app on our phone. We track each other. It's very normal. What stood out to you about this specifically?
Well, this specific, we know that our victim's wife, mother-in-law, and brother-in-law, who we initially arrested for murder, were all tracking him through this AirTag. And, with him not knowing it, they ended up getting him to come here to Utah.
And according to the information regarding this case, and there's quite a bit of information that's been released by the police department, it seems as though you've also uncovered evidence from the cell phones of the individuals that have been placed under arrest that suggests that they were sending text messages back and forth about where the AirTag was. And at some point earlier in the summer, they were tracking him in locations in California.
Right. We believe that the AirTag was initially put in his vehicle there in California. And the 3 people that we've arrested were all tracking him through his movements in California and all the way out here. Based on the text messages, we know that they were tracking him all the way here to Utah.
So if you can tell us, what makes you think that it was luring from California, or what was it that brought him from California back to Utah?
Well, his wife had him convinced that she and the children were going to return to California with him if he were to come here and get her and the kids. And he had initially tried to rent a car for her, but she claimed to have a sprained ankle, which we found was a lie to get him to come here.
So you believe that his homicide was planned?
Yes, we believe that that Catherine Roselli, his wife, his mother-in-law, Tracy Grist, and his brother-in-law, Kevin Ellis, all conspired to lure him here to Utah in order to murder him.
Was there a motive behind this? Was it money? Was it a child custody thing? What was the motive there?
We believe it had to do with child custody, along with the speed in which Catherine would be able to no longer be married to him. She had been looking into getting a divorce, but found out that it was going to take quite a while to establish residency and then start the divorce proceedings, which we found that Kevin wasn't aware. I'm sorry, that our victim, Matthew, was not aware of. At that time, that's when they came up with the plan, we believe, to lure him here.
And you have 3 family members under arrest?
Yes.
And I want to just make a note of this. It does seem as though you have evidence, at least that's what you've stated, that there's evidence that they were able to track him in the Orem area mid-July-ish, and that they had sent text messages which read something to the effect of, Orem, keep an eye out on Find My, I would imagine like iPhone or something like that. I don't see the entire text message here. And then shortly after those text messages were exchanged with the accused and alleged shooters on his phone, he received that message. That's when the victim got to the house just shortly after and was shot?
Right. His wife had actually sent him the gate code to the community, took a picture of the front of the house, and laid down cardboard because his truck was leaking oil, and they didn't want to get it on the street. The plan between our victim and his wife was just to go in, get the kids and her, and leave. She even told him that the door was unlocked and to come on in. We found that was not going to be the case, though.
And I guess when we learned earlier today, there's a way to find out if you have an iPhone. We learned this from a tech expert. To know that there might be an AirTag in your car if people are concerned about this. And that is by going to like an empty parking lot, opening your iPhone and see if your iPhone, your Bluetooth, is attempting to connect with a device you don't recognize. Is there any other advice that you would give to people regarding this AirTag issue and the tracking that allegedly went on here?
Yeah, I mean, if someone suspects they're being tracked, not by their knowledge, they can contact their local police. They can also contact their local provider to see if they can help them on the technical end of it.
Oh, you mean like their cell phone provider, Lieutenant?
Right.
Right. Okay, but in this case, it sounds like he might not have been aware of this.
The investigation has found that he was not aware that he was being tracked.
Lieutenant Stuart Forth, thank you for joining us from the American Fork Police Department.
Yeah, you and I talked earlier today about how big of a scope, an area that these AirTags are capable of tracking. And we also talked to Nexus IT, he's an IT expert, who is the CEO of that company, Earl Foote, about how to, one way you might be able to figure out if you are being tracked, your vehicle has an AirTag that's been hidden somewhere inside of it. And that was by going to this empty parking lot where you're not going to hit other Bluetooth devices, in the area. It's just you and your cell phone, and then you open up your phone, and it'll tell you if your phone is attempting through Bluetooth to connect to another device. Otherwise, he said, it does not just send you an alert like, hey, there's an AirTag in here. It won't send you an alert. But the person on the other end who is doing the tracking, you said you used the example of tracking your son's luggage, Dave, will be the one getting the alerts.
Yes, and again, these are all over the place. They're incredibly affordable. For $20, $30, you can get one of these AirTags, and very easily hidden. They're very small. They're the size of a quarter. So it doesn't surprise me at all that these are being used as tracking devices and that you would be unaware of it.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Police have arrested 2 family members of a man who was shot and killed in American Fork. They say his wife and mother-in-law lured him from California to have him killed. Officers say Matthew Rostelli was tracked using an AirTag attached to his car. His brother-in-law is accused of the killing. BYU's top 10 ranking in college football is giving the team more opportunities for national attention. BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff appeared on the Jim Rome Show, where he was asked about everything from being a Jewish player at BYU to why the team has had so much success.
Winter workouts, spring ball, leading into summer training and fall camp, man, there's the feeling all along that we had the type of urgency and we had the type of team that can do something special this year.
Retzlaff was also asked about the upcoming rivalry game with Utah. Said the Utes have a tough defense, and he knows it's going to be an emotional and hard-fought game. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Vice President Harris visiting 3 swing states today. Last night, the campaign says about 75,000 people came to the Ellipse in Washington to hear Harris's closing speech to voters. This comes on the heels of a comment President Biden made where Republicans say he was criticizing Trump's supporters. And some Republicans compared the comments to when Hillary Clinton said Trump supporters were deplorables back in 2016. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day still 71 points. The NASDAQ, though, has dropped into negative territory, down by about 10 points. And our KSL weather. Looks like partly cloudy skies, but it's going to stay cool. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
We have some exciting news to announce. Master Electrical Service has joined forces with Mountain Home Services.
Yeah, what makes this really awesome for everybody is that they can not only work on your electrical and, if you needed like an EV charger installed, they can do that. But they can also work on your HVAC as well, get you a new HVAC just in time for winter. And then there's
fireplaces. That's right. If you're interested in getting a fireplace, especially as you look up into the mountains, you see a little snow dusting. That's right. Winter is coming. That sounds very Game of Thrones. Sorry. Fireplaces are fantastic. We've loved them in our house, and you can reach out to Mountain Home Services. They can help you select just the right one for your needs, the right size. All you have to do is go to their website, mountainhomeutah.com.
Or you can always give them a call. They love to hear from you. 801-543-2222. Again, that phone number is 801-543-2222.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a nice drive on your Valley freeways, although we had an accident northbound I-15 at 106 South. It's moved to the shoulder. Salt Lake City PD wrapping up 2 crashes, one at 1700 East, 13th South, another downtown at 4th South and 3rd East. Advanced Window Products offers Graber window coverings. High-end quality with the best warranty. Save 30% off when you mention KSL. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with a high of 48 and a chance of showers today. Tomorrow's high 55 with just a slight chance of rain. And right now, 46 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We're going to keep talking about this AirTag and tracking. We've been reporting on it this morning because the American Fork Police Department just called the show moments ago to talk about this case. It's a murder case that they've been investigating where family members of a man have been arrested. And as part of the allegation, they say they believe an AirTag, and they have evidence that they say shows an AirTag had been tracking this man's moves in his vehicle through California and into Utah. And he was killed when he entered a home in American Fork. And they've alleged that he was lured here, and the way he was being tracked gave family members notification that he was getting close to the house.
Now, I had heard that if there is an AirTag in your vehicle, that it will notify other people that, hey, there's an AirTag that is traveling with you that is not yours. I've heard that before, though I've never experienced it.
You've never had an alert that somebody else's AirTag is in your car?
No.
Like if your wife gets in and there's one in her purse.
Right.
You don't get it. So you have an AirTag on what, your wallet? Where do you have an AirTag?
Yeah,
on your keys.
Both in my wallet and
my
keys.
And I'm looking at my phone right now. I just went to my Bluetooth, and that's what we've been told by a tech expert. It's like, look at your Bluetooth on your phone, because you're not going to get a notification that some sort of, hidden AirTag has been put in the trunk of your car. It's not going to notify you, alert you. I'm looking right now on my Bluetooth on my phone, Dave, and I'm not seeing that your AirTag. Can you look through that real quick? There's a long list of things that my Bluetooth is trying to hit in this building here at KSL.
It's trying to get to Maria's MacBook Air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, there's lots of stuff out there.
But it's not hitting your Bluetooth, but your
mine.
Bluetooth is activated.
Yeah,
Weird.
yeah. I've got two of them on my person right now. So we wanted to know: have you ever experienced this? Is it just a rumor out there that your phone will alert you if there is an AirTag in your presence that you're unaware of? Paul decided to call in, texted us, and Paul, you say you've had some experience with this.
Yes, I've got a daughter and a wife who both have carried AirTags. My experience is it only happens when you're traveling. So if you've been driving for a certain amount of time and you stop, my phone's a Samsung, and it'll notify me that there's been an AirTag traveling with me.
Oh, okay. Now, does it just notify you automatically, or do you have to dig around in the depths of your phone to figure it out?
Automatically. It just showed up as one of my notifications. And I'm a Samsung holder. My wife's a Samsung, or Android, I guess you could say. My daughter's an iPhone, and I don't know that hers did it, so it might be a phone brand type of thing. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Just speaking of the case out of American Fork, I don't know what type of phone this individual was. I guess it would have to be an iPhone, right? Because, or is the AirTag is attached, at least sending signals to an iPhone, but we don't know for sure what type of phone brand the murder victim had.
Right.
I'm looking at you like maybe
it's
you
a good
know.
question
Yeah,
because what's interesting about AirTags is, for example, I'm looking right now at my son. So we put an AirTag in his luggage, and he's traveling. So he's off in Georgia right now, and it's tracking him. We're able to see his luggage and where he's at right now, but he doesn't have an iPhone with him. Yeah, he doesn't have he left his iPhone at home. He's serving a mission down in Georgia, so he has a different phone. But what an AirTag will do is it will tap into other iPhone users, and it goes into essentially this big network where you can track stuff.
I want to talk to Abby. She's calling the show right now, Dave, and then our producer, as I'm talking to Abby, our producer Caitlin, put in the Apple website's information on AirTags and tracking. And because you're the techie one in the group here, can I vote you onto the island to review that real quick? Because it does look like there's a way, but you have to go into your privacy and your security settings. But Abby, hi, you live in Mill Creek. Thanks for calling the show. This has been a bit of a mystery to Dave and I today. So what do you know about AirTags and tracking?
So I don't actually have an AirTag, so I've never paid attention to the settings on my phone, but I was going for a walk one day with a neighbor who had an AirTag on her dog's collar. We walked probably 3 or 4 miles together, and it was around the time that I was getting home that I got a notification on my phone saying that there's an AirTag that's been moving with me.
I see, but it took a while because a 3 or 4 mile walk, I'm thinking I walk kind of slow. That's about an hour.
Yeah.
You know,
we were out for a while, and we had kind of been walking laps in our neighborhood. So we were walking the same path over and over again. And it was about after probably an hour that I got a notification saying that there was an AirTag moving with me.
And Abby, did you know that your neighbor's dog's collar had an AirTag on it?
Yes, it had come up in our conversation. So when I saw that, it triggered like, oh, it must have been the dog.
And I'm sorry to keep asking you this question. Did it tell you, Fido's AirTag has been tracking you or anything like that? Or was it just like, hey, there's an AirTag that's been around your phone?
It was more vague, just
Okay.
that there's an AirTag. And I could see, I think if I clicked on it, I could see different locations that it had tracked us at.
Okay. Thanks so much. Appreciate the insight and the phone call. I've been sitting next to Dave for, 40 years. And he's had an AirTag because he loses his keys. I'm glad you have an AirTag. Everybody loses their keys. On his keys, they're sitting right there.
I've made it a profession. Losing my keys, losing my wallet.
I'm
an
Dave.
Olympian.
Apple loves Dave. And at any rate, I don't get notified that there's an AirTag in my presence. You and I just went through my Bluetooth. It doesn't seem like it's trying to connect to an AirTag in my area at all. And it's right there. It's a foot away from my phone. I'll put it even closer. But Caitlin, our producer, put in some information from the Apple website about AirTags and tracking. And what did you learn, Dave?
There's a couple of things that they mention. If it's an AirTag or your AirPods, any sort of Find My is kind of the tracking software that's used. Network accessory, anything that's compatible, whether it's Bluetooth, if it's separated from its owner and then it's seen moving with you over time, it'll actually notify you. So that seems to track with a couple of our callers that when you're separated or you're together and you move together for a time, then there is a possibility that it will alert you. But there are several settings that you need to have on to receive alerts.
Oh.
And this is the key. So to receive these alerts, you got to turn your location services on. You've got to turn your Find My iPhone on.
Oh.
You've got to turn the significant locations on to be notified when you arrive at a significant location. So you're home. So you'll say, turn that on. Make sure your Bluetooth is on. Allow notifications.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of these things you got to check off, and not often do we go through and make sure, is this on? Is that on? Is this on?
Yeah, so that makes sense as to maybe why I don't have all of these settings turned on. I'm not getting a notification that your AirTag is right next to my phone. Can we get one more call in real quick? Let's get to another call. Hi, Marshall.
Hi.
Hey, what do you know about this?
So I don't know if it's dependent on the version of iPhone. I have an iPhone 12 mini as my main phone, and then an iPhone 14 Plus as my work phone. But no matter what, when I'm carrying both phones on my person around my friends who have different generations of AirPods, AirTags, and any Apple products like that, I always get notifications pop up as soon as I'm in contact with them that AirPods are near you or AirTags are near you. Owner can see the location. And so I don't know if it's dependent on, like you were talking about, settings or whatever, but I get those notifications as the instant that I'm even within like 10 feet of my friends whenever I'm hanging out or whatever. So
Marshall, it sounds like you have every setting on. Like you've just said yes to every setting, like every notification, every location service.
Look, I mean, Dave, you just gave the recipe, and it's a little of that, and it's a little of this, and then a teaspoon of that, and I'm going to take what Caitlin has put in our show chat here. And when we get off the air, I'm going to go over to my desk and I'm going to go through my settings and figure out maybe I just don't have the recipe just right. Maybe I have something turned off in there, which I probably do. I'm thinking I probably have my locations off or my Find My off or whatever. And that's why I'm not getting your alerts.
One little nugget that I thought was very interesting is an AirTag. If it isn't with its owner for a period of time and then it is physically moved, it will emit a sound. It'll start beeping at you. So if it's somewhere else, you're like, oh, hey, here's my keys. And you pick up your keys and they start beeping at you. It's because that is one of the settings, is if you've been away from it for a while, you pick it up, it starts chirping at you.
Straight ahead, it has been reported that Maricopa County in Arizona will be one of the most secure places in America come Tuesday morning. We've read stories about law enforcement placing snipers on rooftops, the use of drones, and much more in order to keep Election Day safe in the swing state of Arizona. So straight ahead, we're going to go live to my old hometown of Phoenix, speak with a reporter at our sister station KTAR in Arizona to ask about election security on Tuesday.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
At Common Spirit Health, we don't just see a cancer diagnosis. We see you, and you don't have to do this alone. We believe you should be surrounded by your people, so you can keep them close while you get care close to home. Supported by our care team from diagnosis to treatment and beyond, and strengthened by treatment tailored to you. Because there's no one-size-fits-all approach to cancer care. Find cancer care with human kindness close to you at mountain.commonspirit.org.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful advocacy. Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Do you have any neck or back pain from sitting at a desk or standing at work? Keeping your spine healthy is crucial to being able to live your life. Joining us is Dr. Mike Weinberger from New Spine Chiropractic to tell us more.
We're often asked who can benefit from chiropractic care. Well, if you have a spine, we can help. Think of it as a holistic way to treat your body without pills or surgery. Everyone can benefit from chiropractic care, and we treat all members of the family, from infants to kids to adults and even moms-to-be. On your first appointment, the doctor will sit down with you for a private exam and review your medical history to find out what's hurting you and why. You'll then receive a full-body chiropractic adjustment and finish with a relaxing hydrotherapy massage, which will work out tension in your neck and back and help your body hold that adjustment just a little bit longer. We have your back at New Spine. For more information, go to newspine.com/Utah.
You can find New Spine in Riverton, Sandy, Midvale, and Lehigh. They're open 6 days a week, no insurance needed, and walk-ins are welcome. Affordable family care plans and special military discounts are available. They also accept FSA and HSA plans. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff in the national spotlight as the Cougars climb in the national rankings. Second, while Vice President Harris was trying to hit a high note in her campaign last night, President Biden was getting attention with his remarks about supporters of former President Trump. And third, yes, this is the weekend we switch back to standard time. 46 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We're going to take you live to Maricopa County in Arizona. This is where cities of Phoenix, Scottsdale, and it's a big place, I know, because I grew up there and very familiar with KTAR Radio. Not only are they our sister station here at KSL, but also grew up listening to their coverage. on Election Day and all their news coverage throughout the year. But what we're trying to get to in this report from our sister station, Maricopa and KTAR in Phoenix, Dave, is what Election Day will look like in terms of security in that county, because there's been some reports that it'll have the most intense security in the nation.
I wish we could go back to the good old days. You know what? Let's make voting boring again, where there is no drama. People just walk up, get it done, taken care of, and then you go home. But now we are starting to see more and more precautions taken, especially after we reported this yesterday about the arson attempts on ballot boxes where hundreds of ballots were burned because someone had thrown some sort of incendiary device around a ballot box just right next to one of the roads, and it started burning these. I just think this is so insane, but obviously, it's such a charged environment right now that there's some threat.
Those ballot box fires we talked about yesterday, specifically in Oregon and the state of Washington. But let's go live right now to KTAR reporter Balin Overstolz, who is on the line with us. I'm reading here in an email that I got, Balin, that Maricopa County will have some of the most intense security in the nation, and that its tabulation centers will have snipers on the rooftops. What do you know about all of this? What can you confirm?
Hey, guys. Yeah, thanks for asking. And yesterday, Maricopa County officials and law enforcement had an event talking about all this. And snipers did come up. And honestly, Maricopa County Sheriff Russ Skinner was very nonspecific about that, really didn't give a clear answer on if that's going to be a factor in security. He did say several times he didn't really want to talk about their operational planning. Definitely a possibility, though. And instead, he emphasized the use of drones. He said they're going to be out and about as part of their security process, comparing it to something like the Super Bowl. In the Valley, we've had plenty of big events here, and he says they're kind of mirroring that approach to those really big events when it comes to security.
Balin, what are the specific concerns? Are they afraid of rioting or people that are trying to influence the voters or taking care of the ballots? What are some of those specific concerns?
Yeah, there's a few things surrounding this election. So a very brief catch-up. In the past two elections, really from 2020, there has been this increased concern of threats and actual violence surrounding our elections. So in 2020, our tabulation center here in Maricopa County, where all those ballots are brought back to be processed, there was a very large crowd outside of that area. And, there was concerns that they were going to maybe enter or do something about the process. And since then, they've added gating and passive security measures. In other places, too, there's concerns. You guys talked about the ballot boxes that have been targeted for arson. And we saw something similar here as well. However, it wasn't a ballot box. It was just a typical post box that had ballots in them. And we're told it wasn't done in relation to the election specifically, but it still just compounds with all those concerns. And also, there's just been a large number of threats surrounding the election here, and again, those recent past elections, targeted at election workers and the election officials here, such as Maricopa County Supervisor Bill Gates. He's someone who's been very vocal about trying to prevent that through messaging and through sharing information.
Balin, what do you expect turnout to be in person on Election Day in the Phoenix area and beyond?
They're expecting high turnout early and on Election Day. I will say in past elections, Republican voters in Arizona have really heavily favored in-person voting on Election Day. Since past elections, the Republican Party here in Arizona has changed their messaging. They're really urging voters to vote in person early or vote by mail early. And that relates to in Arizona, they want to find ways to speed up the process to get the results out by getting more of these ballots in early. But as far as in-person Election Day votes go, they're still expecting high turnout. They didn't offer very specific numbers about what they're expecting, but they did say turnout has already been very, very high. There's more than 1 million ballots already processed in Maricopa County.
Balin Overstolz, thank you for joining us, a reporter with one of our sister stations, KTAR in Phoenix.
Yeah, turnout probably going to be high in terms of in-person voting on Election Day in a lot of areas around the country. We do know a significant number of Americans who are registered to vote have already cast their ballots either by mail or in person. At last check, it was close to 55 million who've already done that across the United States, and a significant number here in Utah. But for those who decide to vote in person, we'll have to see how it goes. Of course, Election Day is Tuesday, and throughout the next couple of days, you'll have to leave it right here on KSL News Radio for our continuing election coverage. And then, of course, Tuesday, we'll be covering any of the issues that come up regarding in-person voting. And then that evening, we'll be on the air live as results start rolling in from across the nation, which, of course, polls close earlier on the East Coast, and we will be getting those results in, and you'll hear them that afternoon.
And for the vast majority of us, voting day is very boring, right? We fill out our ballot, we take it, we drop it off, or maybe we do it like you did and drop it off, weeks in advance. So it is very low key, very easy. But as you start describing this of what's happening in Maricopa County down in Arizona, where there's a possibility that snipers are going to be stationed around some of the hot spots, that there were crowds that were gathering, that there was this worry that during the 2020 election that someone would interfere and go into the building where they were counting the ballots. It's just, it is disconcerting. It feels very much like this is the kind of stuff that happens in other countries where there's some real shenanigans that go on. I just would like it to be nice and boring and smooth and no worries. But I don't know. It seems like they're taking a lot of precautions right now.
Straight ahead, Maria Chaleos has much more on the story that's been developing throughout our show after the Deseret News reported that the Utah County Clerk had told them that he was tracking ballots of politicians in Utah County and how they cast their ballots. And now one state senator has asked the Utah County Attorney's Office to look into the matter.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News